Thank you for sharing your Wednesday night with me. This is AfroEconomics Live, and I'm JB Bryan, the President and Chief Investment Officer at JB Bryan Financial Group, a registered investment advisory firm and the home of AfroEconomics, where we're celebrating 25 years of service and more. Because I was already in financial service as a stockbroker when I started the firm 25 years ago. So you know I was only 10 years old. So thank you for allowing me to do this service to you and also celebrate with me at the AfroEconomics Fest. Hello, everyone. Back to you, Mr. Jenkins. Make sure that you take advantage of the opportunity to communicate directly with me. Everyone that is watching this live through AfroEconomics.com, they went to the events calendar and they get invites, but this week is special. We have a handout as well. They have the Tax Guide 2020. So it's important to make sure that you just participate by going in, registering so that you can ask me questions, say hello, like Mr. Jenkins and Dr. Williams and Mr. Lewis. So take advantage of that opportunity. And also email me at jb@jdbryan.com and I will make a great attempt to get you the document. I will make sure that I try hard to do it, but I'm telling you, once it's over, it's over. It's really hard. So I'm glad, like we have 50 people that went in and registered ahead, and in their confirmation, you have the handout. So at any point, I'm not going to like get rid of that document. You can go back, download it, and print that out. So I will leave it on the website, like it's on my cloud, and we'll keep it there until it gets updated for next year. We have some really good stuff to talk about. I want you to take seriously this time of year to do your tax prep. And I want to go through, and what I'll do, I think that this will be good. I think the best use of your time will be to make sure that I was just going to share, but I think that I was just going to talk about it, but I think that I should actually share this with you so that we can look through the document and it will encourage you to make sure that you print it out. So this it's just basically kind of like an outline of things for you to think about as you're prepping to do your tax return this year. An amazing statistic that's not in this guide that I have provided is that 60% of the people, even though the IRS has gone through great effort to make tax preparation easier and easier, that 60% of those who do tax returns actually pay someone to do it. And that it's not about like they have a complicated return or anything. It's just that they've gotten into the habit. So this year I've made a commitment to try to encourage all of my members to do the return on their own if they feel confident enough to at least start trying on it. Because there are, it's so much easier and so many people have a simple return. And once we like discuss it, I like for us to look at your last year's return and I can explain to you what's going on, what you're doing, because many people are going to get a their taxes prepared and they'll answer a question which suggests that they're going to be able to itemize their deductions. So then they pay, just say they ask you, are you a homeowner? So that, and are you paying payments? Are you paying interest? Are you financing your home? Because just asking you, are you a homeowner, doesn't mean that you're paying interest. You might actually really be a homeowner and not paying interest. So, and then they'll say, well, you're paying interest, then boop, they'll pop in and start doing an additional, the Schedule A for the itemized deductions. And then they find out, well, you only have $6,000 in itemized deductions. Well, the standard deduction exceeds the itemized deductions, but they've gone through that form. So in many cases, you are paying to do the Schedule A, but you're still just taking the standard deduction. So just about as many people who are paying to get their taxes prepared, like 60%, there's also more than 60% of people that pay taxes that actually are taking the standard deduction. The overwhelming percentage of taxpayers are doing the standard deduction. So they basically all they're doing is going in, and I'm going through this on the screen, that those who can, I'm sharing the screen with, they're going in and they're taking they're putting in their income information, and then they're going, oh, it's up here. In this form, the handout, it has here the standard deduction for 2018 for a single person was $12,000. For 2019 is $12,200. So if your itemized deductions were only $6,000 and your standard deduction is $12,200, what are you going to take? $12,200. So if you were just doing that on your own and you hadn't convinced yourself because you own a house or you're buying a house that you have someone else to do it because I'm there is no power in us being afraid of something that ultimately you're responsible for. Because if you go to a tax preparer, they're going to ask you to sign a form that says you've provided this information and you are responsible for this. Now, I know a lot of good people that do tax returns for people, but there will always be business for people that prepare taxes. So don't even think that I'm trying to not send you business, because I send a lot of business to tax preparers. I do not prepare taxes. I do tax planning. I help clients reduce their taxable income. I help them know tax effect and the impact of things before they get to the tax return. You can't plan when you're doing your tax return. We have to do now. What you're doing now affects what we're talking about next year this time. So I'm the planner. I'm your investment advisor. I'm the one that's so that's why this is important to me, for you to understand what you're doing on your tax return. I want you to be empowered about this. And even if you're going to someone else, I want you are ultimately 100% responsible for your return. And I had to learn that the hard way. As a business owner, I kept I said, oh, this is too complicated. I can't do my personal and do business, and this is too, even though I have a degree in accounting. Like one of my majors was accounting. So that I just said, I don't have time. And then all of a sudden my accountant, I realized, was always doing extensions. No matter how early I turned in my information, and I said, we need to do more planning. You know, I'm a planner. You got to do more planning. And I can't plan if I don't know what's going on. And then 15 years deep, one day I just said, I have to do this myself. I have to do this myself, because I sold the property, ended up with an unexpected tax liability that he had done an extension on, that leads to having penalties, because if you do an extension and you have a tax liability, you still have to pay penalties, even though you didn't know because you filed the extension. But when you do an extension, he was supposed to make sure that I paid the tax. You still have to calculate the estimated taxes on that. And that was a big overlook on his part, and I knew better. But sometimes you're passing off responsibility, and you are, and then you're still, I'm the one that had to pay that bill, and I'm the one that had to pay the penalties. I'm the one that had to be responsible for that. And then I said, well, you know what? Since I'm the one that's got to be responsible, even for your mistakes, even for your shortcomings, ask Wesley Snipes, who did all that time in prison, then we have to make sure that we understand, even on that personal level, what's going on with your tax return. And then we have like the indeed. I know y'all are raising your hand. I don't know what that means, Mr. Martin. Does that mean like, amen? We have to be in charge. And then, I admire people just like Mr. Martin that we have that's watching. He is committed, Ms. Grant is committed to doing planning and knowing what's coming ahead for them. So anybody tell you that we're not on top of our game is a huge like stereotype that was created from some oddity, because my entire career has been spent on serving Black people who are totally on top of their game and keep me on top of it. They want to know what this, and so that I want to make sure that I encourage you to know that just turn it over. Don't stop managing your money, especially when it comes to taxes. You need to know what this is. Like, too often, we're going in there, giving them all of your information, your taxable income, your W-2s, your 1099s, giving them all of your information. They say, this is what you get back. You sign off and you accept it. A year later or so, there's a audit, and it says that you didn't report this or that, or this didn't do, or can you provide proof, or this wasn't done. Like, I sat down with one couple and he was disabled. And they were telling me about they had to spend about $15,000 in taxes because, that he had taken money out of his retirement account and blah, blah, blah. And they went to a tax preparer. And I said, well, when you come back and see me, bring me your tax return. And then so we started looking at their tax return. And when they came back, and the tax preparer neglected to realize that when you're disabled and you're under 59 and a half, you do not have that 10% tax penalty. So he said, oh, you're 57, and you took this money out of your retirement account, and what could have happened also is that when he received from the employer, it had that it was pre-59 and a half. But when you prepare it, you have to, if necessary, provide proof that you've been approved for Social Security, full disability, and that penalty is to go away. So I said, you have to do an amendment and get this corrected. And they got 15,000 plus back because of that error. And repeatedly, I have found errors. So what we have to do is make sure that you're allowing yourself to get the help that you need. And that is just like a key privilege of membership, just having another eye. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a tax preparer, I'm your investment advisor, I'm your financial planner, I'm there. But when you run into something like that, and I've heard it so many times, a client will say, oh, I had to pay $9,000, like, let me look at this. So then I realized the job, when issued the tax form incorrectly. So then I called the job, like, this is the wrong code. When you turn over, you take money out or something, it has a code on the back of the form, and it tells you why you took it out, and it tells you how it needs to be taxed. So if you do, say, a rollover, and they code it as a distribution, that's a huge difference. Well, they can actually code it's a rollover, and then you put it in a rollover, and that means you switch from one retirement account to the other, and that is not a taxable event. But if it is coded incorrectly and your tax preparer doesn't know you, because maybe he didn't know or didn't care that the person was disabled, it was obvious to me that, then if they don't know you and you're just walking in off the street, they're not going to ask these things sometimes. They should, but obviously they don't sometimes, or they didn't see, or they don't know the code. So when you're working with someone, they should be about you completely, and not just, oh, I sold you that mutual fund, and that's all that they can do, for you. That happens, but a lot of times You'll say something to ask a question and they'll say, oh, well, that's a tax issue. I don't have anything to do with that. You know, I believe that that's a cop-out. You know, we do have limits, and as you see in the tax guide that I gave you as a handout, that I have to be careful and say, well, I'm not giving you tax advice, you know, but if I see an error, I see an error, and everybody is happy about that. That's my job. I have to make sure that I'm looking out for your best interests. Ms. Davis said, this is my first year doing taxes with my business, and I am surprised how the people I have prepared so far have paid someone hundreds of dollars, and they fudged numbers and did other fraudulent things. And I told them it's my catch up with one day, that it might catch up with them one day. I know, that is so true. That's really sad. Now that's sad. Now I'm talking about, like, you know, catching legitimate errors. But she's saying that she's been seeing people just making up stuff, like making up charitable deductions, you know, making up that's bad. You know, that, I mean, ask, whenever you think about that, like ask Wesley Snipes about, you know, not feeling like you have to pay, you know, that we have to pay. So we just go in there and do it. And in many cases for us, all we have to do is do it. Like I've met people, and the first thing that we have to do is catch up their tax returns. And many people is catching up and they don't even owe anything. They just never took the time. And I'm talking about people with real jobs that have been paying taxes and just aren't doing the tax return. You know, but you can be penalized for not doing the tax return. So we have to be careful, right? How are you, Ms. Lawanda? Yes, indeed. How are you, Mr. Spence? We have a lot of people on the phone today. So let me go back to give you, because our time is of essence. Now, I want you to use this tax guide. I'm going to pull out just some key stuff I want you to take advantage of. This is in your confirmation for you to download. So it starts by giving you the deadline for, of course, we know April 15, 2020 is the deadline for filing even your extensions. So make sure you do that. And then it says a quick summary of major changes for 2019, right? People who were uninsured in 2019 will not owe the penalty. That was the Affordable Care Act had that penalty. That's gone away. So you can have no tax, no insurance without facing that penalty. The 2017 Act changed the medical expense deduction, right? The threshold returns to 10%. So the 2017 Act has changed the rules on alimony payments. Hope none of you have to pay alimony. If I know you, I hope you're receiving it. Alimony payments were once deductible, but they're no longer deductible. Alimony for the recipient spouse won't count as taxable income. That means that before 2017 Act, that if you received alimony, you used to have to pay taxes on it. Now you don't have to pay taxes on it. You know, the recipient spouse, it won't count as taxable income. You know, that's good, because you're basically losing part of that payment if you have to report it as taxes, where I'm surprised it took that long for them to catch on to that. Health savings accounts, make sure that you read that, especially if you have a health savings account. Now, this is interesting. These are 19 tax brackets, and this is like good news, and I don't know if you noticed it last year. Like it's saying a single filer of 83,000 with taxable income falls into the 24% tax bracket, and then but for 2018, it was a 24% tax bracket. But in 2019, the filer is in the 22% tax bracket, meaning they're going to have to pay less taxes for last year's income. And then if a single filer has an income of more than $500,000, but less than $510,000, that's most of you. I know that's right. then you would have been in the 37% tax bracket in 2018. And now last year it was in the 35% tax bracket. And $0 to $9,700, 10%. The next bracket, 12%. And you'll see that, so just notice that that there are some good things that are going on as far as how much you're being taxed. And also be aware of if you're withholding enough. And in here I also have how you can find what's called a checkup. And we talked about this briefly last year because a lot of people didn't get as much money back, and they were really upset that they didn't get as much money back. But what happened was you didn't withhold as much during the year. So the average tax refund for 2018 was over $2,800. But to make sure that I don't encourage you, and we also have talked about this, I have a video on this, it's not really a good thing to allow the government to use $10,000 of your money all year long, and you may be carrying a $10,000 credit card balance. So we want to make sure that your withholding is as close as possible. If you get $1,000 back, that's cool, but not like these big lump sums of money. That means that your withholding is incorrect. But for many people, they're having to pay, and you don't want that to happen as well. So you can go to irs.gov and use their calculator. And I hope for those of you who can see the screen, you'll need your pay stub, you'll need a recent income tax return, and then a copy of the 1040 to estimate your income. But basically, you're going to need your pay stub and a lot of information on yourself. But you're not going to have to put in like your social security number or anything else, but you'll put like the number of dependents and things like that you have. And you'll calculate what your income is. And that's something that I think you should do now, especially if you have two incomes coming into the house, or if you have two jobs and when your incomes come together, you're in a whole different tax bracket, and you're withholding a little bit at both jobs, and then your income together is like $100,000, but you got two jobs at $55,000. So you need to do some planning on that, and I can help you through and give you more details on how to do that. You can even do the paperwork and the calculator together, and then you turn it into your job, and they adjust your withholding. And then in this this tax guide, it also has the information on itemizing and what has changed about itemizing. And there was just a lot of talk about, oh my goodness, you can't itemize anything anymore, and that's not true. You can still itemize. It's just that because the standard deduction was increased so much, almost doubled, then more, even less people will need to itemize. But if you have the mortgage interest and you have the charitable deductions, make sure that you calculate before you pay extra and do a Schedule A for itemizing. Make sure like what is, look at last year, and you'll see you may have done a Schedule A and you see, oh, I did the standard deduction, even though I have this in there, so that your return is so much easier. You just take the standard deduction and move on forward when you know that you're itemizing less than, say, the $24,000, or for like married, filing jointly, the standard deduction is $24,400. But you may have $20,000 in mortgage interest. But there's let's look at this. So the total state and income taxes, that's limited to $10,000. Married, just $10,000. But if you're married filing separately, you get $5,000. You don't have job write-offs for your job-related or miscellaneous expenses. that were subject to 2% AIG limit are no longer deductible as itemized deductions. Like when people used to work from home and they used to write off job that, you can't do that. So your job needs to be reimbursing you for that. The gambling losses can be itemized off, but you have to have the winnings. You can't write off more losses than you have winnings. Just have to net zero. And the deductions for mortgage interest limited to up to 750,000 of the home's loan. So if you have like a $2 million loan that you're paying interest on, you can only write off the interest that goes up to the 750,000. So and cash charity contributions are limited to 60% of your adjusted gross income. So but when you're using these handy dandy stuff like the TurboTax and things, they will calculate that stuff for you. And it's not going to cost you any extra if you itemize or if you take the standard deduction. So, I like those. And I can't, I would definitely, and in many situations, like I've helped clients, like they've come in with their laptop computer with their tax return on it. And I tell them, give them feedback on what happened. Like one member, she was putting in there that she was single, but actually she should have been in there as head of household. And I don't know how it, because the software is supposed to do that. So once her filing status, because she had a child, once the filing status was corrected, her liability almost disappeared. I mean, she had a liability, but it was dramatically different as head of household versus as being single. But sometimes like having someone else look at that, and then I caught that and I saw that, and that's just from, just the two of us, like, and then she's like, oh, and she was excited, and then she was good. So definitely use me as a resource or advice, or, if that's what you want to use your quarterly meeting for as we approach it. But the key to it is you have to start early. If you want to do this on your own, you've got to go through that tax guide. You've got to get all of your information together, any interest, any 1099s, in all of the tax forms, all your W-2s, everything. You've got to get organized and get that started. Go in, set up your account, or if you want to go to someone, get on the top of their list. And make sure before you sign anything that you take the time to look at it thoroughly. Don't just go in some prep's office and I'm sure Ms. Davis, says that her business does tax returns and she is a member. I'm sure she would agree with me that you should look over it thoroughly. And if you want it to be electronically filed, and still do it early so that you can go back and say, yes, Ms. Davis, it's ready. So, because many people, I say, get the PDF. So you get the PDF, we look at it together, and then you tell the tax preparer, okay, yes, I'm ready, put it in. Dr. Williams says, if you use TurboTax, make sure to select to be interviewed by the software so you don't miss any of the deductions. Exactly. Oh, so it asks you all the questions. And I guess sometimes people don't do the questions, so use this option, especially if you are new to preparing your taxes with any of the Tax Act, TurboTax, all of them, right? Exactly. Good point. And, if you're using your tax preparer, make sure it's someone like Ms. Davis who is nice and will tell you the truth and say, that's not good. I was having a discussion, I think in our members only meeting, we were talking about that be committed to surrounding yourself with people who tell you the truth, and be strong and receive it and know that that's the way we're going to get to where we want to go. That's where we need to be at our greater good. I want you to hold me accountable, but we also have to hold ourselves accountable. Because a lot of times we don't hear, we don't hear it. We don't want to hear it, but that's what's going to that's what's going to get us the farthest for the longest period of time. Ms. Davis said, correct. Before I submit them electronically or print them, I go over everything with them. I don't fudge numbers, and I let them know that up front. I would rather miss out on their money than to be involved with fraudulent activity. Good for you. Yes, indeed. And also, it's you'll see on the handout that I gave you that every tax preparer has an ID number. So you will ask them, for their ID number. Like, I know some people, they just, unfortunately, not our members, but they will go to, any person and just meet them anywhere, like at a gas station, and get them to just do their return. But, make sure that you are, that you're working with someone that takes it very seriously, just like that. I would definitely prefer that. So, right, Ms. Walton? If you have any questions, please know that I am here for you. And I'm glad that we're talking about this. This is February 12th. None of you should be filing an extension. And if you think that you're filing an extension to avoid having to pay, no. And then also realize that this, and I'm glad that this came to mind, is that when you get a tax return, when you get a tax refund, be very aware of how that money could change the trajectory of your life, how you choose to use that money. That lump sum of money can be used to set up an emergency account. It can be used to pay down or off your credit cards. It can be used to set up a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. I can help you with either. You can take full advantage of using your refund every year for empowerment. So be careful in getting involved in the commercials and buying one more material item or letting somebody, just have it and, oh, they need it. And this, but be very aware that if you make a commitment to every year, whatever it is that I get back, it goes into this, it goes over there. I pay this off. I do these things that are going to help build your legacy in your future. You'll meet Ms. Davis at the AfroEconomics Fest. You'll meet the persons. That's their name. Yep, Mr. and Mrs. Person. They're gonna be on our Black Love panel. The Dorseys are on the Black Love panel. Ms. McLean is going to be there on Ms. Independent. Indeed. Look, Mr. Lewis. I hope you can bring Mrs. Lewis and y'all can be on our Black Love panel as well. But definitely, I want you all to come out and meet the members of AfroEconomics and allow me to bring as much information as I can. I'm putting together a journal, a souvenir journal, so that we can capture the time and you can have space to write down everybody's name and you can take notes for everyone. But what happens is I will have to commit. You know how I like to change. I'll be changing the title for tonight up to the minute we go on. Deal. But so once I have it in print, I have to stick like that's the name of it. That is the name. So know that I'm really putting together some really good stuff for you. And the entrepreneurship workshop right after members only on Friday, and then our meet and greet. So prepare to be empowered and to have fun and to meet some people that you will say, wow, I really needed to do this. I really am so glad that I did this, right? How are you, Mr. Finner? How you doing, Ms. Neal? I look forward to you also being on. And you know what? If any of you are educators, my members of AfroEconomics, I've been asking all of my educators, all mine that love working with young people remember the Teen Summit is Sunday afternoon. And we have our pop-up church Sunday morning. But that Teen Summit, you can help serve with that and address the questions from social media to career opportunities for scholarship funds and everything. Let's help these young people. So no, I need you there that Sunday, the 8th, 12 to 4. Tell me, send me the email so that I can get you there and I can expect it. Larry is going to be there on our Today's Black Man workshop, talking about financial empowerment for Black men. Yes, indeed. So so definitely, I said it now. Y'all gotta be here. How are you, Mr. Jefferson? I hope you're coming down south also. Yes, indeed. Love Life. Yes, indeed. Who is Love Life? Love Life said, yay, Larry. Who is Love Life? Oh, I see you. It's Miss Paula. How you gonna flirt during my workshop? I can't wait to see you. Wait till y'all meet Paula. Thank you, everybody that called in. God bless y'all. Have a wonderful week. Call me 1-844-JB Bryan, 1-844-522-7926. Call anytime.